you know it.
everyone who's joining us here in person and everyone online. We appreciate and love having you here with us. We got a few quick announcements to start things off with today. We are having a spring equinox celebration on Friday, March 9th, but it has been filled. We have a limit of how many people we're allowed to have at it, but if you would like to get on a waiting list, if someone drops out or anything like that, please let us know. And if weather is good enough to do it outside, which is what we're hoping for, we can have more people. So if you're still interested and would like to get on the waiting list, just talk with Heather in the bookstore following the service. And speaking of following the service, today we are going, for the first time since everything got shut down, we are going to welcome having fellowship following the service in Fellowship Hall over here. We don't have any food, but we will have coffee and tea, so if you'd like to hang out and chat and enjoy some fellowship over here, maybe chat with one of our ministers, please feel free to do so. We'd love to have you come hang out with us. And we are doing our annual Easter Lily fundraiser. We sell, they're for a $15 love offering. You get your own lily that you get to dedicate to a loved one or a friend who's passed away. And we use them to decorate our sanctuary during our Easter services. Then following Easter, you're welcome to take it home. So if you'd like to get one of those, they're we're asking for $15. You can sign up for those in the bookstore. And last but not least, we do have tickets now for our Easter service. We are going to do a live service, but we're only allowed 100 people in this room, which is only a fifth of the amount of people this room can actually seat. We do expect them to go, and we will have to be very strict about, you will need a ticket to get in. You can get those in the bookstore for either our 9 a.m. or our 11 a.m. Easter service. But if you'd like to come to that, make sure you grab tickets and grab them soon, because once they're gone, they are gone. But we will definitely still be live streaming it, both the 9 a.m. and the 11 a.m. Easter service, so you can still check it out that way. And next, I would just like to have our friend Steve come on out here.
Good morning. Let us take a moment now for prayer. And as always, we begin prayer by breathing. Take a deep breath. And let go of the world. In this sacred space, let us relax into the arms of Spirit. In the arms of Spirit, we can surrender. Let us surrender all our fears. And by doing so, allow the peace of Spirit to flow into our hearts. Visualize this with me. The peace of Spirit flows into my heart. Again, the peace of Spirit flows into my heart. Infused with this peace, we hear the beating of our own heart. Infused with this peace, we can connect to our deepest desires and our deepest longings. Father, Mother, God, we are so grateful that our deepest desires are your deepest desires, that our deepest longings are your deepest longings. Father, Mother, God, Spirit, we are grateful that connected to this loving community of Spirit, all things are possible. Connected to this loving community of Spirit within our hearts, within us, we know all things are possible. Thank you, Spirit, for all your infinite blessings. And to this we say, Amen.
All right, today's special music is a good longtime friend of Unity of Boulder. Her name is Rebecca Abraxas. She's played here many, many times over the years. We hope she plays on this stage for many, many more years. So let's give a big Boulder welcome to Rebecca Abraxas.
Thank you. All that we know, all that we are, we've been taught is so bizarre, dependent on another force, when all along we've been the source. Who would you be if you knew who you really were? How would you feel if you could trust your own worth? What if you could shine, shine, shine so bright and help the world come alive? Like letting go of the hands that feed us. Children, get ready for more freedom. Open to a different way where you always know you're okay. Who would you be if you knew who you really were? How would you feel if you could trust your own word? What if you could shine, shine the only way you shine, and help the world come alive? What would it take for you to like you? I know it can be so hard to do. But what if being all of you, what if being all of you is the world's next breakthrough? Who would you be if you knew who you really were? How would you feel if you could trust your own word? What if you could shine, shine the only way you shine, and help the world, you help the world come alive? Who would you be if you knew who you really were? How would you feel if you could trust your own word? What if you could shine, shine the only way you shine, and help the world, you help the world come alive?
Thank you, Rebecca. Wonderful way to start. Thank you, Nicole Williams, and all of our wonderful band. We have the best music program ever. It's just, and Rebecca is a super talented songwriter, and all of it. It's like the whole bit in one little tiny lady. Okay, well, today, I don't think I'm going to be really fulfilling the talk titles, so I'm just going to move into what I'm actually going to talk about. You know, we come up with the advertisements ahead of time, and then Spirit says, no, we're going to go this direction. So it was a good title, but we'll get to that someday when God says, yeah, that's the one, that's the talk we'll do. But with this beautiful day, I thought we would recognize the weather and how close we are to spring. And do you just feel that lifting in your spirit? Just all of a sudden, it's like, oh, okay, good. The sun is back. You know, we can get out of our houses and start spring cleaning and just getting out into nature and enjoy the beauty of this wonderful city we live in. And welcome everybody on live stream. And I'm sure you're having beautiful weather wherever you are as well. But it's a time for planting seeds. See, it's the springtime when we plant the seeds of the things that we came to terms with during the dark days of winter. The dark days of winter, it's after the winter solstice, which is on the 22nd of December. And then now we're about to have the spring equinox, which is here on the 21st of March. And so those are the darkest days of the year. They're the shortest days. So there's much less sunlight and there's more darkness. And it calls us to kind of go into a cavern place inside where we reflect on what is working, what is not working in our life, just contemplating our parenting, contemplating the work choices, all of those things, and eventually we get kind of like stir crazy. A lot of people go into kind of a temporary circumstantial depression because the winter just gets too long, and then all of a sudden, just in the last week or two, because we've had such a cold winter, not so much snow, but a lot of chilly weather, that spring just goes, okay, it's a rebirth. It's time to now birth into reality that which we have been contemplating. And it's really about awakening to what's new. What can we make new in our life? So it's kind of an abundance sermon. So for us to really cultivate a new perspective for a new life, to transform the things that are no longer serving us, we have to have faith in this greater power, this greater love we call God, Source, Spirit. We have to have persistence to love back that vision that we have come up with that we're ready to transform. No longer looking to what's not working, but looking at what we want and seeing it in our mind's eye and having a love relationship with the knowing that God already knows what we need before we even ask. And then when it appears, we accept it from a state of wholeness, of knowing that we are worthy of receiving this beautiful visual that we put into the universe. Because a lot of times the universe is trying to give us things, but there's some lack of self-worth or self-esteem or a limited thought about ourselves that it's somehow we block the receiving aspect, right? The receiving aspect is sometimes really hard for people. There's lots of people that feel much better at giving to others and to things, because to receive from the universe, which is usually receiving from other people, because how would God move into our lives than through the miracle of other beautiful beings on this planet that are also going to bring you into greater awareness, greater life? We have to be able to be vulnerable enough to know that we're worthy enough to receive. In my prosperity classes, when I teach them, which I haven't been able to since COVID, I always do something called the receiving exercise. And everybody puts their name in a basket every single night. And then at the end of the class, I pull a name. And then there's a gift that's given to them. And it's a gift that I can actually track that they actually use it or they don't use it, right? To test the universe and see, what is your block? Is your block that you actually take too much from this universe and you don't give back, and so therefore you don't create that circular giving and receiving? Because in the Bible it says in giving that you receive, but you have to receive or you're blocking up your connection with the law of attraction. You can't just only take and you can't just only give. And especially, people that grew up in Christianity tend to have that kind of guilty, just serve, and they don't know how to receive. So I'll pull a name and they get the gift and I can see if they use it. And it's always interesting, the person that receives, gets the gift. I can energetically pick that person out of the group every single time. It's just, after doing it for 20 years, I just know who's gonna be the 5 that are gonna always be, and it's always the same people. My classes can have anywhere from 60 to 80 people in them. But I know those ones that are just, it's hard for me to receive because I was taught that somehow that's not a spiritual virtue as well. So I'm talking about prosperity, but in Unity we talk about things from a metaphysical standpoint. So there's a metaphysical Bible dictionary that I don't know if we've ever shown you. If you're new to Unity, this is the metaphysical Bible dictionary that was written by Charles Fillmore, who is the founder of Unity. This is a really important curriculum towards the truth seekers that would want to take it to the next level than just coming to a Sunday sermon and just receiving a wonderful gift and taking it into your life. But pretty much almost every word that's in the Bible, like the major words, is defined and broken down for you of what the meaning is. Because we don't look at the Bible as just a historic story of 2,000 years ago that's about some Jesus or about all the characters that are in the Bible. What unity teaches and believes is that every story is about the generation, the degeneration, and the regeneration of every human being. So every story is applicable to our own lives. So, I mean, it's interesting to look at it historically, and it's very touching at times when it comes to the birth of Jesus and the resurrection of Christ and all of these beautiful stories. But how does that apply to our life? How do we bring it into our hearts and actually demonstrate that which Jesus did in this world? What would be the point in God giving us one single Son of God that has this ability for miracle working and healing others and himself, if it wasn't as a demonstration of what we all are capable of, with the prayer and the practice that it takes to unfold the masterful spiritual beings that we are? So we do carry these books, and we actually have them in the lending library. If you don't know, we have a lending library that's down in the back hallway. You go through the bookstore, and you can go downstairs. You're welcome to borrow any one of the truth books in Unity, and there's hundreds, if not thousands, down there. But the metaphysical meaning of the word prosperity, the difference between spiritual prosperity and the material idea of prosperity is that spiritual prosperity is founded on understanding of the inexhaustible, omnipresent substance of spirit as the source of supply. The material idea is that the possessions of things constitutes prosperity. So when we talk about prosperity and unity, we're talking much more than the financial abundance of life. We're talking about mental and spiritual wholeness. This is healing thyself, to get to the point where we love and appreciate every aspect of ourselves so that we may be the radiating light of this Christ light in this world, to transform this planet and the consciousness to a greater consciousness so that we may see a healing for our planet and in the consciousness of all people and all of us coming back into sisterhood and brotherhood. It's about abundance. It's about having joy, pure joy, like childlike joy, the kind of joy that just sneaks up on you and you have a laugh that just lifts your heart and you remember that you're a perfect child of God. And it's about having inner peace. Inner peace. And I know that we can access it much more so in the spring and the summer because that sunshine is just so healing. That sunshine is there. We can really enjoy now the birth of the beautiful flowers and the leaves coming on the trees and the nature everywhere. In the Bible, in John 15:5, it says, "I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing." And what is this saying? I mean, some would think that you had to, you're actually talking about a man in the sky. You have to abide in him. But it's abiding in this Christ consciousness that you are, but you aren't aware of because you're still believing in the humanness, the cuts, the breaks, the things that have taken your power away from you and believing that you are a masterful, beautiful spirit by something that talked you out of your wholeness. And everybody has that. That's the degeneration. So we're in generation. We come in and we are direct connected to the God, to source, spirit, whatever word makes you feel hugged and loved. And then life gives us, it's a teacher. Life is a school, right? We're collecting and growing our souls, and we're going to do many lifetimes, and eventually we're going to access even knowledge that we've learned in other lifetimes. And all those things come into play as we start to meditate and we start to grow our spiritual selves. So abiding in me is abiding in a spiritual practice, connecting with this greater power, this greater love, through meditation, through silence in nature, through music and letting it move in and through every aspect of our lives to grow to wholeness. When you are in a state of wholeness, you will speak to the power that's in you. You'll speak to the power in others also. You will speak from love with all that surround you. You will be an open channel for divine guidance for that which needs to be shifted or turned or moved at any minute or any second. You won't have hard seasons, you'll have hard moments. And you'll be a divine conduit for the awakening of that which you've been pining for all of your life. The second that you're willing to let it. So we do not depend upon persons or conditions for our own prosperity. We bless people and the channels of prosperity, but God is the source and the supply. God provides his own amazing channel of supply to us, here and now. There is no lack of supply. That is an idea that we've been taught, that there's a limitation to what we can receive in this world. And most people don't want to become millionaires. I mean, maybe you do. But you just don't want to worry about your bank accounts anymore, right? Isn't that really? We just want the relief of the basic needs being covered so we can pay for all the dance classes and the stuff for our children, for us to have a nice outfit when we have some sort of celebration, to have a car that's working really great and having the money for the gas, and you're never looking at your debit card going, oh, that's abundance. Abundance is having enough to really enjoy your life, and it's not a focus in your life anymore. It's having a relationship of deep trust and love, where you know that person has your back and you're never thinking and pining whether they love you or not. Because we know that the way we feel and how we feel loved is not from another person anyways. How much we feel loved and supported comes from how much we love ourselves. And from that vessel, the reflection of everyone in our life shows us how loved we are. We do a lot of things backwards. So, I need to switch this page. So, we dissolve in our own minds the idea that something can be withheld from us. Some of our goods, some sort of something that we've had some sort of affirmation that we learned early on that said that we are not abundant, powerful beings that can have anything that we dream of. We got to focus and find where we are having some sort of subconscious chatter, that mind chatter that talks us out of being brave and powerful. That's the work of the meditation. That's the work to observe this voice that's no longer serving you any longer. And it also keeps you from speaking to others that which is not working as well. I was speaking with a good friend of mine, Daniel Rivard. We have a meeting every few weeks, and it's kind of one of these exchanges where he shares all sorts of stuff, and I give him advice, and then I share sorts of stuff, and he gives me advice. But he shared this thing that he had written from reading The Dark Edge of Sorrow that I've been talking about the last few weeks, which is an incredibly powerful book, and it does unearth, if there's anything that's not unearthed in your life, this book literally unearths it, and you have to face all the grief and the shame and the guilt and the stuff that we carry that keep us living small and disconnected. And this is what he wrote, and I wanted to share it with you. Perhaps we have all been hiding behind a mask. Our deception that something is okay when it isn't, call it fear or whatever, that we are not good enough, not brilliant or smart enough. We are bad at the core because something happened in our childhood that made us feel like no one loved us. So we think it is our fault. We did it. We are not worthy of love or belonging. Most people have a story of something that mirrored to us at a young age, maybe not childhood, maybe in your early 20s, in your first love relationship. That was the big first cut that broke your heart in a million pieces, and then you put a wall up and now have never been able to access that vulnerable heart for someone else because you distrust. but the distrust comes from a lack of self-worth. So I had a cut in my childhood. In first grade, I went to a public school just for that year. Then I went into homeschooling and private schools and things like that. But when I showed up to the school, I couldn't read my name on the door. I didn't have anything about reading. My mom had not gone there, I guess. We were probably behind on that. But just right out the gate, standing at the door, they're like, which one is your name? Which, being Santisha, I'm sure it was the biggest one on the door, but that I didn't even have any thought of counting the letters to see that I could cheat and say that was my name. So immediately there's a cut. There's something wrong with you, because the other kids knew their name stamp on that door. And then that was the year of learning how to read. And they were trying out some new thing where we were all using earphones around the circle table, and you were writing down words or whatever, and it was completely not going in at all. So somehow I kept being sent out into the hall because I was in trouble, because I was probably being disruptive because I wasn't learning. It wasn't working. Whatever the style of teaching was not working. But eventually it was starting to break my spirit. I felt like I was stupid. And immediately that was now the affirmation: I'm not smart. I must be stupid. Something's wrong with me. Everybody else is learning how to read, and I'm not learning how to read. And at one point, I believe she thought that I was just being a little bit of a troublemaker, because I was starting to build the mask of being this humorous, joking kid, so nobody would notice that I was stupid, right? This is that trauma that keeps us from moving out until we really heal these traumatic things that made us feel small. And so eventually she thought, I think maybe that I could read, and she put me in front of the kindergarten class and gave me books to read and humiliated me sitting there, not able to read to the children. That was the end. I mean, that was just shut down land for me being open to even learning. I mean, it was just pure fear around learning. And so my mom eventually went to homeschooling, and my brother Dill actually ended up teaching me how to read. And I don't know if it was because he was young and I could trust him and he was my best buddy, that somehow the love, he worked with me till I started reading. But there was something wrong. There was some sort of something. And all through life, school was difficult. It wasn't in homeschooling, but once I went back to junior high and high school, it was hard to read the board. I just had something that was just not tracking correctly. And then I was in my 20s, and I moved to Denver, but I was always here at the church. I was the secretary at the time or something, and when I drive at night after classes, I was blinded. I couldn't see the highway at all. Something was majorly wrong, and I didn't know why I couldn't see, and so I finally went to an eye doctor on my own in Denver. And the guy's, checking my eyes, and he's just sliding the things, and he's turning it around, and he's like, can you see this? Can you see this? And he's looking more and more concerned. He's bringing more and more things in, and at one point, he just sits down on the little rolling chair, and he sits in front of me, and he goes, did you have a hard time in school? I was like, yeah. He goes, I don't even know how you ever learned how to read. Because your eyes, they look forward, but this eye looks that way. So you to track the words in a book or on a chalkboard, or somehow you've gotten yourself to do it at this point, but eventually got me these glasses that changed my life. So that was the first healing of that wound. Oh, I'm not stupid. There was something wrong with my eye. But there was still always this picture that would reemerge itself of me in that class, and the shaky feeling when I had to face big things to overcome, like, job interviews or dates, or that low self-esteem that I'm not good enough would come in, and the visual would be of my little self sitting at a desk in my classroom. So obviously it wasn't healed, and I've been to different healing modalities where you cut cords and you do all sorts of stuff to reemerge your wholeness, but one really worked. And this person took me through the journey of really being, like, watching and observing from an adult view myself in that class. That visual that would come up that was the visual of this subconscious chatter that says you're not enough. And watch from the door, from what I know now, and see that little girl who's struggling and doesn't have the answers of what to do. And then as the adult version of, with all the knowledge and the spiritual work I've done, you go in and you go greet yourself. And you go tell yourself, I'm not going to let anything else happen to you. I'll never let anything happen to you ever again. And then you merge yourself with that little you and you hold that child. You let it turn into a photograph, and then you see it being sliced in a paper slicer. And every time the visual that comes up that's repeating a negative or hard, limited story that's keeping you from living in your wholeness, you do that until it doesn't pop up anymore. And then you know it's gone. There'll be new ones that will reemerge because there's all sorts of things that happen through life. The Bhagavad Gita writes that one should raise the self with self. One should raise the self with self, not trample down the self. But we tend to trample down. We're hard on ourselves. We beat ourselves up. There's this self-criticism. Can't you just stop being late? Or can't you just figure it out? And, we were rough on ourselves. We're more rough on ourselves usually than others are. But if we're rough on ourselves, then also the outer world, because of the law of attraction, will keep mirroring this belief. That's no longer serving us. And we'll re-enter in that. So, to not trample down the self. In other words, stop trampling down the personal self in the name of getting free from your humanness. And find deeper compassion and love from your divine self. This is the part that you came in with. You're just a divine self. You are directly connected with this greater power, this greater love. But then we went to the degeneration of the episodes of things that happened in our childhood that said that we were less than perfect, less than whole. Then the regeneration is our self, our divine self, grabbing the degeneration that happened in us and walking us back up into the divine self. Does this make sense? So that's what the Bhagavad Gita is talking about. The one should raise the self with self. Stop being hard on yourself. Stop trampling down the self. So we have deeper compassion and love for your divine self. And give your human self a hand of support to see things differently. Let that scared, troubled person you have been watching and judging know that your divine self is present and that you can come out now. That broken part of you doesn't have to hide anymore. You can come out now because I'm gonna protect this. We're gonna heal this together. I will protect and love you back into your divine existence, into your divine experience. You no longer have to struggle and be in fear. Have faith as we surrender together and walk towards the doors that are already open for restored healing. In our relationships, our finances, and we will finally be home, basking in our soul's desire for harmony within and without. When we're in a spell in our life where we feel like nothing can go right, we keep knocking on the doors of the things that used to work for us, and they all seem to be closed, and we're frustrated, and we're fed up. Why can't anything work anymore? A lot of people are there right now because if the universe is honorable, then the COVID was a teacher on some level for us to learn a new way, a more expanded, more powerful, more conscious, more ethical way. We have to take to task this part of us that is not whole yet to build it up. And when we get to that wholeness, we will find all the doors that are open to us. When we're doing our practice, when we have the faith to know that something greater is being birthed here, and we can stay with all the doors shut for years if we want, unless we're tired of it and you're ready to feel what all those doors opening unto you that are probably different than what you've known, because you have to develop the consciousness within yourself to be shown where those doors are. It's exciting, really. Your good has never been taken from you. Nothing can be taken from you. Your good is only taken from yourself. You're the ones that have shut out this greater love for divine guidance, for divine dreams, for divine urges. This is another quote that Daniel shared in our talk the other day. He wrote, "God forbid we become authentic, genuine, and throw our masks away. What would it be like to be vulnerable, open, truthful, brilliant, honest about how we feel, what we think, and who we are?" God forbid we become authentic, genuine, and throw our masks away. How many people would say that you are walking around and still wearing a mask in your life to protect yourself? All right, let's be brave. We're talking about bravery here. Let's put our arms up so I can actually see them past the lighting. So about half. And we have about 40 people in here. So, and maybe you guys are the brave ones and told the truth. It doesn't matter, nobody's judging here. So, define what that mask is, right? So my mask was, I'm super funny and nothing can hurt me. That's what I was. I was a big cut up. I could make everybody laugh so nobody could ever notice that there was something limited in me. I was a big goofball. I was willing to make fun of myself in a huge way. And so I had a lot of friends. So when you have all those friends, nobody would know there's something broken. But if you've ever really researched comedians and you look in their stories, they're usually one of the greatest depressed people. And why they're so funny is because they've faced the hollowed, hard parts of life. And what do they say humor is tragedy plus time becomes funny. Right? When we look back at something that was super awful in our life, but now we can look back and just hysterically laugh at what a freaking freak show that was, and cut up with our friends about it because it's no longer completely overwhelming us anymore, because we've found the navigation out of it. That's what life is. So life is a teacher. But even Jesus had teachers. In the Bible it says, "Thou shalt thank the Lord thy God in all things." How could the Lord expect thanks in all things? Even in tragedy and loss, even in persecution and extreme trial, we're supposed to thank God. Right now I have a dog that's ailing and is probably going to pass in the next few days, and I've been with her every night, and I have moments where it's like, why would she have to go through this? This perfect little puffy perfection. And then I know this is her karmic life. She blessed us for these amount of years, right? And pain is also part of joy. It's all good. But we are the ones that make life be bad or good. That hallowed place of being with this dog has shown me a depth of love. Sorry, I should have brought it up. It's super special. It'll make me a better person. That authentic, that feeling of love, to feel the saddest because you've loved so deeply. I'm always on the verge of joy, tears, laughter, all of it. Because I'm honest about all of it, because it's all God. So it's not really God asking us to be grateful for everything. It's really for us to become grateful. We need it. Because God knows that gratitude is the only path to light, peace, and happiness and forgiveness. Gratitude is that. It's not saying, thank you, this is awesome that my dog's going away before she should, or the trials that we're all facing in this year. I've had the year of death. This has been the year of just loss of a lot of things. And I've learned so much. I have learned. My soul has grown. It leaps and bounds in the most wonderful way. But there's been a lot of tears this year. We tend to first live out of alignment with the truth of our being. Trying to be prettier to get a man, acting like you are happy all the time to be popular and liked by all, being all the many masks that have protected you from being vulnerable in a world that can feel very unsafe. But the law of life is the instructor. That is bringing about the perfect circumstances, whether painful or enjoyable, to reveal to us the truth about any given belief or feeling we are harboring within us. Therefore, we are enabled to take the particular mask off and merge with the truth of our soul's awakening process. So we no longer have to learn that lesson again and to move on to the new one, lessons to be learned. Here's another good one by Daniel Rivard. Daniel, you better be here when I'm sharing. Oh, you are here. I didn't see you. Do you want to wave to everybody? Okay. He was just so profound the other day. When somebody's sitting in your presence and you just know God is just channeling right through them and speaking to your heart, that's the meeting we were in. And I hope I reciprocate that sometimes. But that day was for me, Daniel. He wrote, "We all define ourselves and others by things we will never see or know. Nor can we ever see the hidden, unseen world in others. The mystery of the totality of being remains the great mystery. We can never know the depth of another soul until we know ourself. When we know our own depth, we will see the mystery, the pain, the despair. The beauty is ultimately the necessity of being with all things. For I am everything and everyone and everything I see is me." I have like 3 more sermons here, but I think that's where I want to leave it. All right, love you guys.
Sentisha tells it like it is. And that's the truth that makes us free, to tell it like it is. And it's so beautiful to be able to relate to that and carry that message and that wisdom with us in our lives so that we drop our masks ourselves. It's not just coming to hear something and intellectually take it in, but if you're coming to unity openly, honestly, you're coming because you want to free yourself from the useless, unnecessary suffering. There is suffering. There is sadness. There is beauty, there is love, there is healing. But there is real suffering. The problem that we humans have, especially in the Western culture, is what Sentisha is talking about, is the useless, unnecessary suffering. The suffering we bring upon ourselves because we hold limited images about who we are. We try to hide. We're not open. We're afraid. We move through life with this mask. So she's so clearly giving it to us that you are accepted just as you are by this universe. It gives you all the room to grow and find life abundantly without the useless suffering we put on ourselves. So with that in mind, we're going to take an offering for unity. And the way we do this is we bring whatever gift financially we'd like to make to Unity of Boulder so that we can continue the ministry here. It goes 24/7. You know, it's an interesting thing about ministry is you have to close the door on it when you leave to do something else. Because there's always something you can be doing. There's always some calling that you should be answering. But you have to learn how to balance that out so you don't become crazy. So, we have here many ways that you can tithe to Unity, and we still have a basket in the lobby and some dip jars for your credit card. But bring to mind whatever financial gift you'd like to make to this ministry, and let's bless it with this offering statement, this affirmative prayer. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, because I give. And so it is. We share some more music. Beautiful. It's really.
Thank you. And I can live in the question of what is to come. If I can live in the question without wanting to run, but what would my life be like? Would it take away my strife if I could trust that it's all being done? And maybe my life has just begun. What am I bringing in? What am I bringing in? What am I bringing in through the questions that come? What has become of me? What is it now that I can be? If I can live in the question of me. If I can let go of each day, starting fresh and new. If I can let go of how and all I have to do, could more actualize? Could I finally realize that it can be easier than I thought? Being parts of me I love, but I forgot. What am I bringing in? What am I bringing in? What am I bringing in through the questions that come? What has become of me? What is it now that I can be if I can live in the question of me? What am I bringing in? What am I bringing in? What am I bringing in through the questions that come? What has become of me? What is it now that I can be if I can live in the question of me? What am I bringing in? What am I bringing in? What am I bringing in through the questions that come? What is to come of me? What is it now that I can be if I can live in the question of me?
Thank you, Rebecca, again. It's
We
awesome.
have prayer partners over here.
We have prayer partners available to you at the end of the service if you're facing something you'd like to pray with somebody about. They're here with their white, where did they go? Oh, they're right here. Sandy, she's got the white stole on. She'll come and find you. Just stay seated if you would like to be prayed with, and she'll take you down to our beautiful meditation room and pray with you. I will be doing a follow-up on that sermon. It will be a number 2 on that talk next Sunday, so come back and hear the rest of it. And is that everything? Oh, we have fellowship after the service, so join us in the fellowship hall, which is on the side. We have tea and coffee, and you can meet my dad and I over there. And it's great to see you.
Doing the fellowship all today.
Yeah,
Good idea.
cool, man. All right, let's all rise and close with a closing benediction. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Yes, I'm only here for God. Yes, I'm only here for God. All right, go make the best week ever, and we'll see you next Sunday.